Okay, everyone, welcome to the podcast, a podcast where this time two buddies discuss music. I'm your main host, Mateo, and I'm joined by my co host.
I'm James.
Yes, and welcome to the podcast. Before we get into discussing, I think it would be a good idea to maybe go over the songs that we're going to cover so that if you, the listener, wants to have more context, you can do it before listening to our interpretations. It's almost like a spoiler alert of sorts. So, we're first going to cover three songs by rapper Dave. First one, Psycho, then Black, then Lesley, and then we're covering three more song recommendations by me. Weird Fishes slash Arpeggi by Radiohead. Then we have War by Idols. And then we have 13 Angels Standing Guard Round the Side of Your Bed by Silver Mount Zion. Okay, let's begin. James, can you introduce us to the first song?
Well, yeah. So first, I'll just give like sort of brief introduction to Dave. So he's a rapper, British rapper from South London, and he makes a lot of his songs which touch on a lot of sort of global issues, which are very or a lot of issues that are very prominent in the region where he's from, and which is this region in South London. Um, and these three songs today, which we're going to discuss, Psycho, Black, and Lesley, all talk about three different issues. So Psycho touches more on sort of mental health problems, while Black um, focuses more on racial equality and racism, while Lesley focuses on domestic abuse.
Okay,
Um,
so, sorry, continue. Yeah.
I was going to say, so Psycho is the first song. It's the first song in his album Psychodrama. And this song gives sort of an introduction to the whole album. It starts off with a voice recording from Dave's therapy session. And it says basically, we're going to just talk about your background, where you're from, any issues you've been dealing with. So where should we start? This is sort of a segue which goes right in, then goes right into the song. And then he starts talking about and he starts rapping the lyrics, where he talks about the highs and lows of his position in being like a very famous musician, as well as the mental health issues of that have that his like childhood and upbringing have brought have like led him to have today.
Yeah, in the beginning, you briefly mentioned the sample, which is I guess, psychiatrist or a clinical psychologist talking to Dave about his first session with him. And I guess with the
Yeah,
album being called Psychodrama, it's almost like uh, Dave showing vulnerability and displaying himself. And I think most
yeah,
rap songs have that structure where they have like a central emotion and they cover many themes, real life themes that have to do with this emotion. And I think it's smart how the song almost plays out as Dave talking to the psychiatrist about his problems. I found that really intriguing. Yeah.
yeah. It's very interesting because a lot of sort of musicians when they rap or sing or whatever, um, it's very rare for them to like open up and just really like just let their feelings and let their emotions loose. Uh, so for Dave to do this, where he's just being very open, he says a lot of things that a lot of people might be afraid to say. I think can have a very big impact on a lot of people because a lot of people are in the same situation as him, had the same sort of similar upbringings to him in very poor neighborhoods, um, and just having to go through the struggle of just living in this way. And I think this really would affect a lot of people because he's almost like a role model for these people.
Yeah, I think the lyrics display this mask of being a macho, like being a macho person, not to survive in a very, I guess you could say, impoverished neighborhood. And as the song progresses, I think he somewhat takes off that mask and displays
Yeah,
his deeper emotions of him crying, him being sad, and him missing his deceased friends or family members. And yeah, it
Yeah.
is a very, I think, layered and impactful song. Yeah,
Yeah, and to touch more on just a bit more on more than just on more than just the lyrics, the actual beat in the background, like as you mentioned, how it sort of progresses and he gradually opens up more. There's one specific point, like about in the final third of the song, when the beat changes from a very sort of
yeah, the split second.
um,
Yeah.
bass heavy beat to a sort of more mellow piano.
Hmm.
And at this point, he says the lyrics, "Brother, I'm a careful, humble, reckless, arrogant, extravagant, and I'm probably battling with manic depression." And then this part really is where he just fully opens up and talks about all the issues that he has and how he just struggles to deal with them on like a daily basis.
Yeah, I also think with this more somber, I guess, piano-based beat towards the end, he also advises the viewers not to commit suicide. And I found that very touching because,
Yeah,
I mean, there are artists who address their viewers, but that was one of the few times where his like talking to the viewers felt sincere, and he even thanks the viewers, I think, in the song because
yeah,
they're his motivation to make more music to, I guess, improve people's lives. And yeah,
yeah,
I found that
exactly.
very touching. So yeah,
Yeah, and also I think it's yeah, there's some of his like wordplay in this song, like in all of his songs actually. I think it's just very intelligent, and it really shows his talent as a musician, and not just, and it shows that yeah, he's not just all about, he's not all about like talking about these issues, but he's also got like genuine talent, so he genuinely like deserves to be in this position.
hmm.
For example, he says like 99 problems, money it is not one. My currency's Kenyan, that's in it for the long run. Um, and this sort of making a connection between the Kenyans who are very notoriously good long distance runners, and hit sort of money problems because he's saying that money is something that he doesn't have an issue with, and it will go on like with the stamina as like a Kenyan runner. I thought this wordplay was very intelligent and shows that
Yeah,
he's like genuinely talented.
yeah. There are many instances of like I think he's a skilled rapper, and I guess before moving on, note that all these songs come from the same album. So um,
Yeah,
yeah, like if you liked the three first songs, you're in for a treat because it's a very personal album, and I'd recommend it. I think James would too. So
yeah, definitely. No, the whole album is very good. And that we just selected these three songs specifically to talk about,
yeah,
because they talk about three sort of different issues and sort of show the range of problems which they've talked about.
should we move on to Black then next and
Yeah,
discuss that? Okay, I had less notes done on Black because I think I just found it. I think it's a hard song for me personally to relate to because it covers, I guess, the emotions that come with being a person of African Black heritage. And yeah, I was very curious how what you thought the song was interpreting and all that. So
yeah. So this is a song which I know has like affected a lot of people. He performed it live at the 2020 Brit Awards earlier this year in February. And it sort of raised a lot of controversy because they were sort of like questioning people in power. Like he called out Boris Johnson for being a racist,
oh, okay,
and it sort of raised a lot of controversy. And a lot of people, specifically um, people of African descent, to sort of really grow in their support of Dave and look up to him even more as a figure who's sort of leading this whole like the Black Lives Matter movement, for example. Like
yeah,
he's a very prominent figure in this movement, and this song is very direct. The message is very explicit. Like I think the lyrics aren't that hard to break down and understand, just because everything is said so sort of just straight up.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah, yeah. You're right. I don't think it's a deep song. I just think he's saying things that are maybe seen as taboo by society,
yeah,
things that we all know are true, but no one's talking about. And I think, yeah, I felt a range of emotions because even though the song is very upfront and you know what Dave is saying, um, I think it's just displaying how complex a culture or race or ethnic group really is, and how it's virtually impossible to box them into a set attribute. And I think
Yeah,
that's the main message of the song, that there's rich history, there's ups and downs, and ultimately they'll keep going, they'll keep fighting, and that's, I think, a very empowering message. So
yeah, very empowering. And also, like as I mentioned earlier, the song sort of had a lot of controversy around it because they was like putting into questions things that people, primarily people in power, were sort of ignoring. As you mentioned, like Black history, it's something that isn't like is never really like taught at all. Something is still very unknown because yeah, it's all about like colonization. All the history we learn is all about the colonization of Africa, but actually not actually about the history of the Africans.
yeah, the good things, like not
Yeah,
always bad
exactly.
things. Yeah,
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 and yeah, this song just has so many examples of just sort of subtle instances of racism. For example, there's one part where Dave said goes to you go to help an old lady cross the road just to have her walking off because he doesn't want someone of this skin color to be in the same vicinity as her.
yeah. No, it's got plenty of examples. I guess you could say microaggressions, the full-on assaults of which are racism based.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's really hard to like musically evaluate these songs, I've noticed, because when it does come to rap, you do just focus on the lyrics. So
yeah.
and,
But
and yeah,
I think with this song, like focusing on the lyrics is exactly what Dave intends, because like even with the beat, it's very subtle. There's
yeah,
just all it is just like a soft piano track, and this really sort of brings out the lyrics and makes you focus on the lyrics even more, so that everything he's saying is just thoroughly understood. Because I mean, as you mentioned about like the idea of being deep earlier in a song,
hmm,
but I think if you're in a song like this, when there's a clear message that you're trying to portray, if you are being deep and it's like more difficult for people to interpret the lyrics, then your message is not may not be may not be like sent across as easily.
yeah. And deep and insightful aren't the same thing necessarily. Like you can be insightful with upfront,
Yeah,
messages, and I think this is an example of that. And I mean, overall, this isn't a song I'd like enjoy listening to like on the run or on a walk. It's something I'd have to, listen to in a
yeah,
specific moment. And I think similarly to other rap albums I've listened to, I think it's you're kind of doing yourself a disservice not listening to Dave's songs or Dave's whole album, Psychodrama,
yeah,
back to back, because I think they connect very well with one another.
yeah. Yeah, no, his whole album is just it's just like it's just like a story, and he's just like talking about his background on all these issues.
Yeah,
And it's not, yeah, as you mentioned, it's not really a song that you'd like jam out to, but it's something that you would just really you listen to, just really appreciate lyrics.
and that whole like psychiatrist angle evolves through the album, and you see how their relationship
Yeah,
grows or evolves, which is interesting too. And I think,
yeah,
yeah, I think this brings us to the last song we're going to cover. I don't know if it's, I think it's on the second half of the album. It's called Lesley, and here we do see clearly how the relationship develops with the psychiatrist and Dave. But before we get into that, do you want to give like some background information on what the song's about?
yeah. Well, as you mentioned, like this is near the end of the album. It's the third last song in the album, and this song is pretty much just a story of uh this girl that Dave met in a train station on the train. It's unknown whether this story is actually true or not, or whether it's just a fictional story used to get across a message. But either way, it's equally as effective. And it's a story of this girl Lesley,
Hmm.
um, who basically suffers. She had the same upbringing as Dave, like lives in the same sort of situation as he did when he was younger and when he was still suffering and living in poverty. And it just the whole story is about this girl who is just sort of mistreated by everyone. She knows she's abused by her boyfriend. Um, like the girl Hannah, who she thinks is her friend, ends up just like betraying her. And it's a very sort of emotion-inducing song,
Also, I
which
think. Oops, sorry. You can finish.
you say go ahead.
Okay. I think compared to the other two songs mentioned by Dave, this one I can remember more musically. And that's because they keep repeating this very short chorus throughout
Yeah,
the song. I kind of forgot how it goes. I think
is it
it's
the one where it's like yo Hannah, it's Les, can you call me back?
no, it's like the
Or is it?
I can't feel myself no more. Is it?
Oh, yeah.
It's,
I don't
uh,
know myself. I don't know myself no more.
yeah, and it's kind of like beautiful 3 seconds of Dave, and I
Yeah,
think the feature of the Ruelle like synchronizing with their voices.
yeah,
And I think as that I think chorus is repeated throughout the song. It gets more and more heavy as the subject matter gets more and more heavy. And I found
yeah,
that like at some points it just gives me goosebumps. You know, it was really really intense.
yeah. No, it genuinely gave me goosebumps. Like it's a very impactful song, and there are some lyrics at the end, which I wanted to talk about.
Yeah,
And it says, in that train full of people, in that train full of people that you're taking, how many Leslies are running from their Jasons? So basically saying like how many people are hiding some abuse that they're suffering from, or issues that they're dealing with, just to seem like socially acceptable and not and seem just strong when inside they may be suffering a lot.
yeah, and similarly to Psycho, there is a message or a verse or whole set of verses towards the end that are for the woman who I guess suffered from abuse. And I think this just shows that this album isn't just for Dave to, you know, find himself again. It's also for the viewers to, or listeners to
Yeah,
maybe have someone guarding over them who understands them. You know.
yeah, someone to see as a role model. Like, um, it's that like he's not that people know, so people know they're not alone in their issues.
Yeah,
There's always like someone who's in the same position as them.
yeah. Uh, For me, I guess the kind of one negative from this song, and I guess from all three songs actually, is the outro. I found it kind of like cliche, where it's like a fire with no flame, a car with no wheels, a husband with no wife, or a sandwich with no bread. It's a bit like a kind of like thing with no thing. Found that a bit like, you know, like that kind of for me, it's a bit of a cliche lyric, like used for pop songs and stuff. So I found that a bit like
Which
undermining. It's the last, it's the outro by Ruelle, so it's her whole verse kind of.
oh right, yeah,
She's singing it, and yeah, like her voice is good and all that, but I just found it didn't really add much to the meaning of the song, you know, because if the
yeah,
song is about separating yourself from abusers, why is she talking about things that go together? You know, it's a bit that was a bit of a
yeah.
weird part for me. But apart from that, the all of Dave's parts and the choruses and the meaning was yeah, I loved it. You know.
Yeah, no, I agree with you in that last bit. Like Ruel's outro to the song, I feel like it just like it's a very sort of like musically, it's very nice to listen to at the end of this sort of very intense, heavy story. But I feel like the lyrics just don't really add too much value. And yeah, as you said, it's a bit cliche.
Yeah. So I mean, overall, like these three sets of songs from Dave,
Yeah,
they're all really different. Well, not different. I mean, they're all kind of depressing, I guess, but they're all like a very nice, deep listen that you can do to just, I guess, understand the context that James mentioned of South London and people who grew up there. And yeah, I'd recommend it.
yeah. And
Yeah,
also, I'd recommend also not just listening to these three songs, but the whole album. Like, there's so many good songs in there that talk about many different issues. And it's definitely worth just listening through the whole album and just and fully understanding the story that we've been talking about.
and as mentioned, the whole album is pretty much a story, so you can follow it yourself and maybe
Yeah,
better understand the context because I don't think we're giving justice to how good it is. But yeah, highly
Yeah.
recommend it. And yeah, sounds good. So
Okay.
should we move on to my three songs now?
Yes, let's
Um,
do that.
First one I recommended from one of my favorite bands called Radiohead. I think you guys know them. You might know them for Creep, which if you just know them for Creep, it breaks my heart because they've done so many other good things. This song for
That's the
me,
big one though.
yeah, it's the immensely popular, insanely covered song by everyone, and yeah, it's catchy, but they have much better, much complex, diverse things. And I think this song we're going to discuss now is an example of that from my favorite album by them called In Rainbows. And the song itself is called Weird Fishes Arpeggi. And before I give my adoration of the song, I'm very curious, James. How did you find it? Like, just did you enjoy it? Did you not like it? What was your experience?
Well, this sort of music isn't like the kind of genre that I would typically listen to. And
Hmm.
like in the beginning, there was a lot of like instrumental at the beginning. I thought it was a bit I thought it was quite slow and it was like really like dragging it out.
Yeah,
But when the like lyrics kicked in, um, I thought it picked up. I mean, the lyrics were there weren't even that many lyrics, and um, I thought it was. I was very sort of uncertain of how I felt with the song because at the beginning I thought it was quite slow, and the lyrics kicked in, and then I thought, oh, this is picking up, but then they were over pretty much as soon as they kicked in.
and
So
did the switch up that got catch you off guard or no?
yeah, I wasn't expecting that. I honestly expect because I wasn't listening it. Because I was just listening to it without seeing like the duration of the song.
Yeah,
So I couldn't see at which point in the song I was, and I expected that to end, and then I just wasn't. I wasn't really expecting the like change in the beat.
yeah. I
Uh,
guess for
the-
people who haven't, oh sorry about it. You can finish.
I was gonna say I'm very interested to hear like what your thoughts are as like someone who's a very big fan of this band and obviously of this song.
Yeah, for me, like this song is just if I had to use a couple of words to describe it, is it's super soothing and very atmospheric. And whenever I close my eyes listening to this song, it's almost like I'm in the ocean, like I'm in this like
Yeah,
fantastical suave ocean. And
yeah,
yeah,
I can see what you mean. Yeah,
yeah. And then like many Radiohead songs, um, the atmosphere is sad, but there is some hopefulness to it, especially in this album where it's a very sad album, but towards the end you get more and more hopeful, which I find very reassuring. Kind of like Dave in a way, where it is a sad situation, we do get better.
yeah,
Um, and even though the song is relaxing, there is this slight uneasiness about it, like this constant pitcher patching of the drums, which kind of takes the tempo of the song. And yeah, there's so many words I could use to describe it, but I think more than anything, the song just exudes emotion. That's how I feel about it. Um,
yeah. And what's your like interpretation of the lyrics? Because I thought they were like for me they seem quite shallow, but I haven't really had much of a chance to, like look at them that like intently. So,
yeah,
but you've listened to
yeah,
the song obviously a lot, so I was wondering what your interpretation was.
yeah. It's way more like vague and less
Yeah,
explicit than Dave, for example. So these are very two contrasting artists. But how how I took the song, I guess the album as a whole, it's almost like a breakup song. Um, and I mean, they can be interpreted in many different ways. There is no clear message, but um, I think how I see it is the artist finds himself in the depths of the deepest ocean, which I interpret as being in a very dark place, and they're in this relationship where they're not controlling anything. It's the partner who's deciding everything and being dominant, and she's submerged them into the depths, pretty much. Um, and eventually, he hits the bottom, he hits the floor. He's uh, quote unquote being eaten by the weird fishes and worms, which is a very kind of gross lyric, but I like it a lot.
yeah,
I guess the interpretation of this is once you hit rock bottom, once you're at the darkest depths, there's nowhere but up. So it's essentially your choice to get out of there and swim back to the surface.
yeah, yeah.
And
I guess also because if you're at the bottom and you're being eaten by these weird fishes and by the worms, then you're just gonna stay in that situation if you don't do anything about it.
Yeah.
So you
Yeah,
can
you like
stay
to
there and
regroup. Yeah, no,
yeah,
true. Yeah,
you can stay there and suffer. Or you can try and work your way back up.
yeah. I mean, the last lyric is, yeah, I'll hit the bottom and escape. And it has this, and I just can't like begin to describe how, for me at least, beautiful the song is because it has like these lovely backing vocals and has this like super nice bass riff and it's just really good. And I mean, let me see. I wrote something down about it. Let me see.
I can definitely appreciate this song a lot. It just isn't really like the genre of music I would listen to, but I can definitely appreciate the like lyrics and the instrumentals to this song.
You know,
And I can,
James is kind of a rap head, so he kind of listens to rap
yeah,
mostly, right? So yeah, I'm more like experimental with my stuff, and I mean, I think Radiohead isn't really classified into any specific category. But I mean, if you want to listen to something that's more, I guess, kind of atmospheric and kind of gloomy, then yeah, listen to the song. But I think you can see where we stand on our opinions and all that. Yeah, I like that a lot, and I like songs that don't have super specific meanings, so I can just like dissect them, play around with them, and experiment. So
yeah.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah, recommend that song. Please listen to it. It'll do me some, make me happy. But anyway, moving on to the next song, which is also experimental. So it's a very experimental day today, but has one of the longest titles I've ever had for a song called 13 Angels Standing Guard Round the Side of Your Bed by Silver
Yeah,
Mount Zion. Um, I guess some background information. This band is, like, I guess the front man is Effie Minook, our first Canadian artist who is more popular for his band called Godspeed You Black Emperor, which focuses on very slow, very, I guess you could say, crashing rock with lots of peaks and troughs. Um, but this band, I guess his second band, which is called Silver Mount Zion, is more orchestral in a way. And again, like Radiohead, I first want to see what James thinks about this song. So, what do you think?
I'm not gonna lie. When I was listening to it, I got like a little bit bored, and I was sort of like waiting for it to end.
Yeah, yeah,
Because I didn't expect it. Because honestly, I didn't expect it to be like a song without lyrics.
yeah,
Um, so when I was listening to it, I was waiting for the lyrics to kick in, waiting for the lyrics to kick in, and it seemed like I was waiting like forever, and the next thing I knew, the song was over. So it was
yeah. I mean, my experience is way different. I was actually like, I was in a random playlist on Spotify, and the song just popped up, and the beginning just creeped me out because it had these weird, like, baby synthesized vocals. I don't know if you remember that.
yeah, yeah,
And it just really freaked me out. But after a while, I was like intrigued by it, and I fell into this like trance where this very soothing violin piece with these kind of electric influences. And I, for one, liked it a lot because I mean, I do like very, like, as you see with other recommendations I make, I do like some very like punky, death grips kind of songs, which are very thrashing and hard to hear, very loud. But
and
once
just
in a
like a
while,
bit like the next one on the list.
yeah. But once in a while, I do enjoy a more relaxed song, and yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
I find it a very nice piece. Do you have any interpretation what it could mean, or are you kind of lost?
Um, I mean, as I said, I was sort of waiting for like I was sort of expecting some lyrics. So and I wouldn't. I'm gonna be honest. I wouldn't know how to go about interpreting like the actual music behind it. I'm not very like musically inclined when it comes to analyzing like beats and stuff.
Yeah, I mean,
Um, but
try to give my shot at trying doing it because I came up with an idea. Like,
yeah, yeah, go
okay,
for it.
so the title is called 13 Angels Standing Guard on the Side of Your Bed. And this this gave me like flashbacks to when I was super young. My mom would do Spanish, would tell me these prayers before going to bed. That's like a little, I guess, tradition thing. And that prayer was about how there's four angels in each corner of your bed protecting you, pretty much. And that's how I took the title. And once I pieced two and two together, I imagine it as being someone's first encounter with an angel. And just for your knowledge, biblically accurate angels are terrifying. They look like some H.P. Lovecraft Cthulhu kind of monster. And but I do guess that after a while, these angels being God's creatures, they exude this alien but holy and beautiful atmosphere. And that's how I interpret the baby kind of voice kind of things. It's almost like a man encountering this unexplainable but
And
formidable force.
sort of like the eerie feeling when you're sort of encountering something that you can't explain.
Yeah, yeah, true. And then after a
Yeah.
while, the vocals do stop. So I interpret that as the guy just coming to terms with this light, I guess, and this holiness, you know. And then
Yeah.
when the song ends, I kind of picture the guy just going, "Oh, well, I can't tell anyone this because it's an angel. No one will believe me." So it's just this like religious experience, you know.
Mm.
So I saw it.
Yeah. That's
And
actually
yeah, oh, wait, sorry, what were you gonna say?
that's actually a very sort of interesting. That's a very interesting interpretation of it. Because like
Yeah,
I mean, like I didn't have any sort of like background. I don't really have that much like religious background and knowledge. Um, so now that I've heard that, I can definitely see what you mean by the sort of progression of how um he just the like character or figure in this song is coming to terms with something that that they can't explain, and that they sort of like accept it. But that's also something which I feel um like in our society, a lot of people might maybe struggle with. I don't know, because there's always people who are like claiming that, oh, I saw like a UFO once, and then no one's going to believe them. But like, what happens if we actually did? And then this song is like a representation of how these people who have seen something unexplainable would feel.
yeah. I mean, I guess the fun thing is that the guy who made this, Lesley Minuk, only said that this album is very religious, and he himself is Jewish. So it's a different but kind of similar faith, which also has angels. I mean, so
Yeah,
and also you can't really explain religious experiences. So maybe for him it's something completely different, and I'm just misinterpreting what it means. But I think that's a fun thing to do with music. You know, just coming up with your own ideas, what it means, especially with songs with no lyrics, because they're almost just asking you to create meaning. You know, and I enjoy
yeah,
that. So, yeah. Um,
yeah.
I guess apart from that, um, I'd recommend the song if you want something relaxing but kind of creepy. And yeah.
Okay, nice.
So now for the last song of this episode. It's been very emotional, but I have to end soon. So
Yes,
it's a song called "War" by Idols. Now, this, in comparison to my two other songs, is very loud and aggressive. So James, what
yeah.
did you think about this song?
Um, I definitely preferred this one to the other two. Like I was very sort of taken aback by it. I wasn't really expecting it to be as it was.
Yeah,
But then again, I do know you and the type of music you like to listen to, so I definitely couldn't have ruled it out. Um, but it was very surprising. But and some of the sort of sounds that the sort of sounds like the onomatopoeia that
yeah,
that the artist used.
yeah. There's one lyric where he goes like
Was very
touching at the
and
sound of the sword does something, whatever.
and
It's
then
very
this
funny.
part he goes like tucka tuck tuck tucka tucka or something like that.
Yeah, or like bam
Like
bam
the
bam, that's
beginning.
the gun. Yeah, like it's yeah, it's
Yeah. Yeah,
um
no, he's a
yeah,
very interesting use of onomatopoeia, and I think with the very sort of heavy, I mean, I'd describe it as like sort of like death metal music.
yeah, it's
Then
punk.
it,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah, I think that
yeah.
it worked quite well.
Yeah, the one of the few popular modern punk bands, I guess. And I
Yeah,
think I'm glad you liked the song. For me, I have almost a dramatic kind of relationship with it because I initially loved the song. As I listened to it more and more, it got a bit less impactful for me, and I'll tell you why. Because I mean, I think we agree that the sound's very, very intense, right? And the
yeah,
vocal
definitely.
delivery is very intense too. Um,
Yeah,
especially the instrumentals, some like the guitars keep escalating, the drum beat gets faster and faster. And yeah, I like it, but I did find the message of the song very like basic. Um,
Yeah,
the
I don't.
chorus is "This is war, anti-war. This is war, anti-war." It's a bit, you know.
Yeah, no, I don't think the. I'm not. I don't think the meaning was really the like the message was was like the best part of this song. I think just like taking it for what it is like I think this song is more one you just need to like take for what it is.
Yeah,
Um, as sort of like heavy song with a sort of slightly disturbed message, but not a very um deep or thoughtful message. If that makes sense.
yeah. I mean, and the song does lose some steam towards the middle and end. Like it kind of slows down a bit,
Yeah,
and that I was also not that much of a fan of. So I mean, because I was super excited to put this song on, but I was like, oh, I guess it kind of just declines after a while, and doesn't really
yeah. Uh,
end too much.
I was quite like I was quite shocked by the last line as well because it said there's like we're all going straight to hell. And I was like, yeah, all right,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah. And I mean, if you like, I guess to give some prior context, idols, I guess policies and outlooks in life, they're very straightforward. They're very, I think, socially accepted. So they're of course anti-racism, anti-war, pro-choice. They're anti-fascism. So if you're into hearing messages that you believe are correct, then yeah, this is a cool band for you. But if you're tired of hearing the same, I guess, accepted messages the whole time, then it does get a bit boring after a while. So,
yeah,
and of course, as Tim mentioned, you can just enjoy them for the sound, which is what I think we both did in the end. So,
yeah.
yeah. But I guess if I had to rank the three songs I picked, I'd say Radiohead first, then 13 Angels, and then this probably. But yeah.
Should we should we give each of the songs a rate score out of like 10, say, and then we can sort of see all the songs we talk about in future episodes and just see
Yeah.
how they all compare. So
True.
you give a rating, I'll give a rating, and we take like the average of the two.
Okay, well, let's go back to Psycho then. What would you give Psycho?
I would give um I would give Psycho I think honestly I think I'd give it a 10 because it's a song that I would it's got great meaning and it's also a song that I could just like put on and listen to anytime because I'm always going to appreciate it. The instrumental is great, the lyrics are great. For me it is Dave's in my opinion is Dave's best song and he's one of
Yeah.
my favorite artists. So for me to not give his best song a 10, I think that would be unfair on my half.
Yeah. I mean, I give it an 8. I do love the song, but for me to give a song an 9 out of 10 has to have more of a personal impact on me and my life, I guess. So
Yeah,
it's a really good song, but unlike you, it hasn't affected me in that much of a way. So I'd highly recommend it. It just isn't like my, crown of jewels per se, but still really good.
okay,
So
yeah, okay. Black.
I give that a 7 probably because I enjoyed it a bit less than Psycho, I think.
Yeah, I was gonna say an 8 because I it's not a song that you can like put on really like um enjoy for like the instrumental, but it's a song you really appreciate the lyrics to. The lyrics are really good. But I mean, in our position, it's not a song that will really have that much of an effect on us as we're both white males and have not really experienced a lot of the stuff that's being spoken about in this song.
Yeah. Also,
But it doesn't.
generally, oh, sorry, yeah, you finish.
I was going to say that doesn't mean we still can't appreciate it for what it is, and appreciate that it is a really important issue that needs to be brought up a lot.
Yeah, and I guess generally when you listen to songs, you want to like escape to a more happier place sometimes. And I think
Yeah,
just listening about current affairs is a bit like, of course, it's very insightful, but it can get a bit draining if you're always exposed to those things. So that's the
yeah,
reason as well, I think. So yeah.
okay.
Then lastly, Lesley. I'd give that a 8. I think
I
like
think
Psycho.
I was going to give it an 8.5 because I preferred it to. I think I prefer it to Black because I mean neither of them are songs I would necessarily like put on and just listen to just for like the enjoyment of listening to music because it's their songs you really have to appreciate the lyrics to.
Yeah.
But I think the story is very impactful, and I really enjoy the sort of story being told, and I think it's a very important message, as with all of the Dave songs which we've spoken about.
I appreciate the song, but it's a very long song, firstly, and then I guess B is that on multiple listens, I guess I kind of just get a bit bored of how Dave like says the story because you know how it goes anyway, so like
Yeah,
loses impact. So I guess it's a good song, but I wouldn't like. But I appreciate it, but wouldn't like listen to it too much anyway. So
yeah.
yeah. Okay,
Okay.
then now it's
Weird
my three
Fishes.
songs. Radiohead. How Weird Fishes. How would you rate that?
Hmm. See, originally I was I would have given it like a 3 or 4, but
Yeah.
after this like discussion and like understanding the lyrics a bit better and hearing what you interpreted from them, I think I would give it probably a 6.5 because I would
Wow.
for a
Okay.
7 for a 7 I think it would have to be a song that I would listen to like I would like very much enjoy listening to. And I'm not gonna lie, I don't really enjoy listening to this song, but I can definitely
Yeah.
appreciate the lyrics more than I did before, which is why it's a 6.5.
Yeah. For me, I think it's not surprising. It's a 10. I mean,
A 10,
let's just move on. Yeah. Nothing more to say. Just perfect. Great.
yes.
So all right. Uh, Now 13 Angels. This will be interesting to see what you give it. Be a very big contrast for this, I think. So
Yeah, I honestly think I'm gonna give this a 4. I mean, it's very definitely very experimental, and it's definitely your taste in music more so than mine.
yeah.
Um, but I mean, yeah, as with all of these songs, as I've said with most of them, I can appreciate it, but it's not one that I would just take the initiative to put on by myself.
Yeah, for me it's 8 on I guess parallel with Dave, but for different reasons, Like I just find it a very cleansing experience and the
Yeah,
whole album too is very powerful, almost orchestral thing. So yeah, 8 I think it deserves. So now it's the last song, War by Idols. I think giving it like a 4 maybe, or maybe a 5.
4.
I think it moves because I, initially I would have given it like a 7 or 8 even, but I just kind of grew tired of it and the
Hmm.
lyrics became less meaningful and the song kind of slows down. Like I don't know, it's not my favorite song.
Yeah. Okay. Well, for me, I'd say it's on par with Weird Fishes
Hmm.
because although like I do enjoy like listening to this one more than the other one. Uh, Weird Fishes had much better lyrics than this, so it sort of can sort of like one thing draws back the other thing, it sort of equals out. I think so. A 6.5 again.
Yeah. All right, well, that I guess concludes our first episode of the podcast. Um, just to excite our massive fan base for the next episode, I'll tease 3 artists that we're going to cover. We're going to cover electronic artist, uh, master, I call him, Tim Hacker. We're going to cover Kamikaze, a very skilled rapper too, recommended by James. And we're going to cover Queen. We all know who Queen is, so get excited.
Yeah.
And yeah,
And
well,
hopefully in the next episode, our third co-host will be present, David.
he had some technical difficulties, so he couldn't join this time, but he's a very insightful man and he'll give us some good insight. So yeah.
Yeah.
Anyhow, I think we're coming to an end. So adios.
Yeah.